You are listening to Be Amplified, the podcast with Bri and Thais, episode number 50.
Hey Amplifiers, welcome to Be Amplified, the podcast. My name is Thais.
And I'm Bri Seeley. We are the co-founders of the Amplify Collective,
A movement aimed at radically disrupting how purpose-driven women connect and operate in the world.
because we believe it's not just what you do, but who you are that matters.
Each week, join us for messages and interviews that will leave you feeling amplified and ready to change the world.
Let's do this.
Hey Amplifiers!
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Or afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this, of course.
Bri is in the same closet as me.
This is our reunion episode, and it's not even episode 100.
I'm just a convenient placeholder for her. She just had to be in the West Side, and
It's true.
and wanted to come over. You know, it's fine. It's fine, Bri. I see my role in your life.
I'm going to the dentist, and so I had to be over here for an interview we have, and instead of doing it digitally, we have reconvened
In my closet with my dog, and today we have a solo episode for you, no guests, because sometimes we like to do that, and we're going to talk about intent, impact, and consent, and how all those things come out. Yes, please drink your water in the middle of my talking.
I almost packed my pistachios.
Well, woof.
You were so lucky.
Feel very grateful.
Don't ever say I don't think of you.
I lived a blessed life.
So we'll be talking about those three things. But before we get there, we are having an event in Los Angeles next week at Aloe in Beverly Hills. It is a yoga store. We will be kicking off the night with a free yoga class taught by
Me. That's me.
her.
Me.
Yep.
And then it's going to be a night of networking. It's going to be super fun and delicious. We have champagne by Le Grand Courtage. We have snacks. We have good people.
And it is sponsored by the Tampon Tribe. So come join us. You can go on our website, theamplifycollective.com, click on the events tab, and find tickets for one or both of the things that evening.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I actually really completely forgot that I'm going to be teaching yoga. So that's fun.
I have been waiting to buy yoga pants.
Wow.
Until
Aloe Yoga is... Oh, and you, of course, get a discount at the store if you come. And Aloe Yoga has some really cute clothes.
I did see a pair of yoga pants where they kind of like go over the heel and like around the
yeah, a lot of them do that.
Foot.
Yeah.
So these current ones that I'm wearing right now don't do that. Although I do love my sweaty buddies.
Oh, I just got an email. Okay, so let's focus, Bri. Let's focus here. Instead of clothing, let's talk about intent, impact, and consent.
But yoga pants.
But yoga pants. Okay, so let's start with talking about intent and impact and the roles that they play and how that all works out. Here's the deal. Intention is important, and we talk a lot in the coaching industry, the spiritual conversations about the power of intent. Your intention is what kickstarts everything else. If you have an intention to start a nonprofit, that's first. First you have the intention and then the action follows.
So I, if it's okay with you, I'm going to use an example.
I'm going to go ahead and slurp on my...
oh my God, Thais went
my
to In-N-Out.
smoothie.
So what's worse than
Damn
me
it,
eating...
it doesn't make a noise. Damn it.
Stop. What's worse than me eating fucking almonds? Thais eating fucking In-N-Out and then being locked in a closet with her.
My breath is very oniony.
So I have an example that I kind of want to use as a bit of a through line that we can maybe reference
You're
back
so
to
fancy.
through the episode.
Please.
You ready for it?
Introduce the through line.
Okay. So a few weeks ago, I have been playing a lot in my life with boundaries and my schedule and how accessible I am and all these things. So my intention to share this with Thais was, obviously, she's my business partner. We talk almost every single day.
Really? You're choosing this particular experience?
Yep.
The whole world is going to know about this particular experience?
I think it's a good one.
No,
I think
it's fine.
A really great example.
Maybe it would have been great to get my consent to sharing the story before we went live. No, it's fine.
I'll learn that in the end of the episode. And then I'll get your consent next time.
Okay, deal.
So So I call up Thais and I'm like, I just want to let you know that I'm restructuring how my calendar looks. My phone is going to be on silent mode several hours a day. I'm time blocking, blah, 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 blah. And I want you to know because you're my business partner and like we talk all the time. And if I'm not able to respond back to you, I don't want you to get upset or, think that something's happened or blah, 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 blah. So my intent was just to simply communicate that and to kind of share where I was at and as a sign of respect to let her know.
And intent is important because it sets the boundaries of which you're going to have the conversation, right? So if you remember your intention is to engage in this dialogue when you're having a hard conversation with your parents or with your boyfriend or whatever else, when the conversation goes astray or when you guys start talking about something else, you can remember, oh wait, my intention was actually on this particular topic. Can we bring ourselves back to this topic? So intention is critical. It's important. It's always recommended that you develop a clear intention before you engage in difficult conversations because emotions can come up and you get sidetracked. Intention. Use this arrow, this north star that is your intention. As a yoga teacher, I often say set an intention at the beginning of the class. It's going to guide your practice for when things get hard and you get out of breath and you just want to give up. You touch base with your intention and you ask yourself, how can I infuse this intention back into my practice? Okay. So we're not taking anything away from intention. It is important. And it's not the only part of the equation. And when we only consider our intention, it's a little selfish. It's a little selfish because we don't live in a silo and we operate in a web, like a social web is the way I phrase it, the way I envision it. And so even though you may have an intention, the impact of your actions can be completely different. And when we do something and we hurt someone's feelings, and we never had the intention of hurting someone's feelings. Like this happens in my relationship all the time. My partner will say something that will hurt my feelings, and I'll tell him that it hurt my feelings, and he'll be like, "Well, that wasn't my intention." Okay, great. I appreciate that. I would hope that that wasn't your intention, and that doesn't get you off the hook, off the responsibility that you actually did hurt my feelings, or that impacted me in a different way than you intended.
So to continue on with the story that I began earlier.
Mm.
So when I communicated to Thais that this change was happening and that, I was going to be implementing these boundaries, um, she perceived it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you should tell this part.
Well, the impact, the way it landed to me was she was cutting me out of her life. The impact, the way I received the message was I'm no longer going to be accommodating for you. I'm no longer going to be open for you in my life, and I'm boundarying you away from my life. And that really hurt my feelings. And so again, even though that wasn't Bree's intention, that's how it landed within me. So now okay, pause. In this conversation, it's important to note that Bree is not responsible, quote unquote, for how do I want to say this? It's not that you're not responsible for my hurt feelings. Is that we want to know like when someone's emotions is ours and when it's not. Like sometimes it's their shit, right? Like sometimes they have to process their stuff. And sometimes we have to also look at how we may have contributed to that stuff. So on the one level, I had to really look at, what Bri was saying and why it was affecting me in such a way, because it clearly wasn't her intention to impact me in this way. So I had to look at, why did this hurt my feelings? So that what a part of it is on me, and the other part is on her. Is on her because she hurt my feelings. And it's her responsibility then to also open the space and hold the container for my hurt feelings. So together we can find a way to actually have her be happy and for me to be happy. This is what relationships look like. So you're not off the hook just because it wasn't your intention. You're not also fully responsible. That person also has their own work to do. But we have to really look at, if you want this relationship to be successful, then you have to look at your intention, your impact, and see where it goes.
And the other thing I want to note here too is that when you're in a communication like this, like with Thais, in this instance, I didn't try to fix or change her feelings because
That's important.
like she said, those are mostly her responsibility is to dive into the underlying cause of those feelings because while I triggered those feelings, I wasn't the root cause for those feelings. So I didn't try to, immediately jump in and be like, well, that's not what I meant. And this is what I meant. And this is what you need to feel instead. Like, you can't, we don't get the, we don't have the right to tell anyone else how they need to feel. Like, I don't even to this day, I don't think still know what the root cause of what experience was for her, and I don't need to. But, we she had her feelings, and then we did open up the dialogue between, like, from my perspective, I saw it as a matter of respect. I saw it as a matter of, we're business partners and we have to communicate in this way. Like, you have to know that my schedule's changing. And in fact, I ended up also telling her that she was the only one that got to know this information, and that it was actually more of a privilege. And so we had a conversation about it instead of, me trying to fix it or change it. I allowed her to have her experience with it. We dialogued about it. And yeah.
I mean, and when we look at this from the eyes of kind of social justice and the bigger kind of conversation, intent people say, well, it's not my intention to be racist. It's not my intention to perpetuate the patriarchy. It's not my intention. Of course, it's not your fucking intention. That doesn't mean that you're not contributing to the patriarchy. That doesn't mean that you're not being racist. It doesn't mean that you're not responsible for the impact of your results. And I see way too often we use the word intention as a way to then no longer look at what our actions are actually doing in the world. Kim Kardashian took a selfie, a naked selfie, and she got a lot of uproar about her naked selfie, and her response was, was a feminist move, like, this is empowering women to love all of their bodies. um and while there's a lot that we can dissect in Kim Kardashian's selfie, her intention, I highly doubt was that. But even if it were that, the impact of that, I don't think necessarily landed. Like, I don't think, to me personally, seeing Kim Kardashian's naked body that fits into a very stereotypical beauty standard empowers women that their body is okay. That's not the impact that I received from that, and that maybe other people didn't receive from that. That so her intention may be one thing, her impact is another, and we kind of have to start looking and holding each other accountable and responsible for looking at the impact that we're making, if we genuinely care about the other person or about the conversation. I remember when I was in college, I had this great idea on a project. Like, I was talking to my friend about it. I had this great idea of what I was going to do for this paper. And a couple weeks later, she comes up to me. She goes, Thais, I had a great idea for what I'm going to write for this paper. And she shared it with me, and it was eerily familiar. Like, it was very similar to what I was going to write. And I told her that. I was like, wow, this feels really familiar to what I shared with you. And her response was, oh, that's not my intention though. It just came to me one day, and I just had to write about it. And I'm like, okay, well, while that wasn't your intention, that's your impact. That's how it's landing with me. So if this relationship matters to you, then we have to look at that. We have to look at the impact. The intention doesn't get you off the hook. That's it. That's all I have to say about intention and impact. Do you have anything more to say?
I'm feeling a little subdued today, so I don't know if I do have anything more to
Subdued.
say.
I mean, and so we're not saying that we have any answers when it comes to
Mm-mm.
intention and impact, but this conversation has been coming up a lot for us. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's something to just be thinking about and percolating on, is like, at what point is intent no longer enough? At what point should I also be looking at my impact? At what point is it just because your intention wasn't to hurt someone's feelings, you did hurt someone's feelings, and it's critical to the well-being of our planet for you to really look at how you may have hurt someone's feelings.
Well, and really looking at too, when you say, "Oh, that wasn't my intention," like, where are you just not willing to take responsibility
Yeah.
for this stuff? Like, are you using the quote unquote intention aspect as kind of an out, as like a scapegoat kind of thing of like, "Oh, well, I didn't mean that, so it doesn't matter."
Yeah. So one great thing to do is, if you've hurt someone's feelings and they said it to you, like, wow, that really hurt my feelings, you can just say, that really wasn't my intention, but I hear you that I hurt your feelings, and I'm really sorry. Like, swallow your fucking ego and all the voices in your head telling you, but, I didn't mean it, but here's my defense, but here's whatever. And just say, I hear you. And I apologize for hurting your feelings. I apologize for misreading the situation. I apologize for not communicating clear. Take fucking responsibility. Again, it may not have been your intention, but it is now your impact. It is yours to look at.
And then after you hold space for that, ask the person, like, what do you need to feel complete about this situation?
Yeah.
What do you need to feel better about this? Is there anything I can do to support you or help you, or change my actions, change my whatever it looks like for you? But ask them, like, what do you need? I clearly have hurt your feelings. What do you need?
Yeah, like, I'm so sorry that I hurt your feelings, and I would, when you're ready, would love to talk about what happened, and so that I can learn from this and you can learn from this and we can move on and be, the friends that we're meant to be, or whatever the situation is. And that kind of leads us into the conversation of consent. So I personally have been doing a lot of work around creating a consent-based business. And Bri and I, when we launched The Amplified Woman, we made it clear to the women that this program was going to be a consent based group experience. And so, some of the ways that that manifests itself is if someone shares in the group about some traumatic experience that happened, like, gosh, if they were raped or sexually assaulted, or if their parents abused them or whatever, they share that in confidence. And so, you should not ever bring that back up unless you receive consent that it is okay, because it could be triggering to them if they're, if they're feeling really safe, if their defense mechanisms are down, and you bring it back up, it can trigger them, it can shut them back up, it can make them feel unsafe, and we don't want to do that. So consent-based business looks very, different in all the ways, but that's one of the ways that we found to be really helpful when it comes to facilitating women's conversations.
And another thing that I've found is, maybe we've talked about this already, but asking people's consent before you try to quote unquote fix them.
Yeah.
So, like in my mastermind group, we're in there the other day and someone posted something about their goal and they were frustrated about not having reached their goal. And I had an immediate intuitive hit as to, supporting them around this. But it's not my place
Yeah.
to just jump in and be like, let me fix you. I have all the answers. And so instead of saying that, I said, I had a thought about this. Would you be open? I would be happy to share it with you. Would you be open to receiving it and hearing what came up for me? And she said, "Oh my God, yes, absolutely." And so, I shared it with her and she was like, "Oh, this makes so much sense." But instead of me looking at her and saying, "Oh, well, clearly you're broken. I'm going to fix you," I just asked her permission to be able to, gift her some of my perspective. And I feel like it's a nicer way because I think I
Well, it's
posted
not
this.
necessarily nicer, it's a human
It's
way.
respect.
It's
I
saying, "I see you and I respect you, and I'm not gonna try to manipulate your experience because I trust that where you are is exactly where you need to be."
I posted a yoga photo a few weeks ago with me, whatever, doing downward dog. But, and then posted about how I physically cannot do downward dog without the suspended harness. And put in the comments specifically, like, while I'm sure there are a lot of yoga people that are really knowledgeable in my feed, don't try to fix me.
Yeah,
Like, this post is about celebration and acknowledgement, and it is not about you all jumping in to try and tell me what I'm doing wrong because I have tried everything. I've spoken with multiple yoga teachers, blah, 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 blah. And like, I don't need my feed to be full of people being like, well, you're clearly doing it wrong
yeah.
or you're broken or blah, 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 blah.
Well, it's just, I love that when I'm in certain groups and I share that I'm having a really hard day, the responses that I get are, "I hear you. I see you. I'm supporting you. I'm loving you. You're okay." This is this is a part of the experience, and I'm holding, you in this experience, or whatever. Basically just saying like, I'm supporting you, I'm holding the container for you, as opposed to if I were to post in some of my other groups, or if I were to share this with some people, it would be, oh, let me try to fix it. What can I do? How can I change this? How can I be of service to you? And while that sounds really nice, like, if I wanted you to be of service to me, I would have fucking asked. What I need is just for you to say, I see you, I hear you, and I hold you.
Or my favorite one is the, like, they try and brush it, like, someone else will try and brush it under the rug
Like, it's
for
not a
you.
big of a deal.
Like, "Oh, it's not a big deal, like, tomorrow will be a better day, blah, blah, blah," and
Yeah.
it robs us of the opportunity to go through whatever experience we are facing.
And that's the point. The point is, in a consent based life, I guess, we are honoring that people are where they are supposed to be. And when we give advice without asking for our consent, or if we, try to fix them without asking or being invited to, or whatever, then we are inherently saying, I know better than you. And the point of being a coach, a teacher, a leader is to empower the community to find their own truth within them, and we can like help clear their glasses, we can help get them a better prescription, but they have the truth inherent already within them. And I know that we're so thirsty to want to give all of our fabulous advice to people, but sometimes, most of the times, it's not really needed. So consent based, or living in a space of consent based, can go really deep, and this conversation is almost silly in comparison to how much depth this conversation could offer. But we just want to start opening the door to the possibility that, we live in a society that has robbed women of their consent for a very long time. Many people say, and I believe, that we live in a rape culture where we, take what is not ours, where men feel completely entitled to objectify and take women's bodies without their consent. And so it's important that as women, we make sure that we're not perpetuating that within our own circles. So small ways, small ways in which we do that is adding people to Facebook groups without their invitation, without their consent, adding people to your email list without their consent, signing people up for things without their consent. Another big one is engaging in difficult conversations with people without their consent.
That Tice did this beautifully a few weeks ago. We were on the phone about something, and I was on my way to an art gallery, and she said, there's something that's been coming up for me lately, and I'd like to have a conversation about it. Are you in a place right now where we can talk about this? And I was actually so grateful for that, because I was able to say, you know what? I'm actually about to go into an art museum. Can we talk about this tomorrow? And we did. And it was beautiful. And I felt really respected, instead of her just kind of launching in, for me to be at a point where I was open and capable to have that conversation in that moment.
Yeah, so don't assume that just because it's good timing for you, it's good timing for somebody else. If you want to have a hard conversation with a friend, instead of just calling them up and barging them with it, ask them, "Are you in a good place right now? Do you have some time to talk about this?" It you'll be amazed at how people feel like you're listening to them, you're hearing them, you're respecting them. And that's what being consent based really is about, is a sense of respect for all humans, is a sense of respect of their privacy, their space, that it's not your way or the highway. And I think that that's a really important reminder for us, especially the faster life becomes and the more we're connected online. We can forget the importance of honoring people's space.
There was one other angle I wanted to bring up, moving back to where we were talking about how people will like brush our feelings under the rug.
Yeah.
So oftentimes when someone's doing that, it's because they are uncomfortable with your feelings.
Or they're uncomfortable with their feelings.
Well, they're uncomfortable experiencing your feelings because of their feelings.
Yeah.
So when you find yourself doing this, remember, when you want to tell someone, like, oh, it's fine, you'll be okay, don't worry about it, you're trying to basically put a band aid over their feelings so you're not inconvenienced.
Yeah.
And so, in the times when that's coming up for you, just remembering that it's not about you. It has nothing to do with you. If someone else is having a bad day or whatever, you don't have permission to put a band-aid over their feelings for them.
Well,
So
and so the way
it's
you
an
do that is you process your own emotions and you
the yeah,
give,
the invitation is for then you to look at your own shit without
yeah,
trying to fix or, change other people.
yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful what happens when you start holding space for your own shit. Like you're able to hold space for other people's shit. I say this all the time. How are we supposed to be able to be containers for other people's stuff and support them if we can't even do it for ourselves? So
Mm,
it's important that we really, really look at how we are dishonoring our emotions, how we are dishonoring, our experiences, because we're probably uh, somehow reflecting that out to other people as well. And then they don't get the honor and the privilege of processing their emotions. And we don't want to rob people of that. That's where the juice is. That's where the magic is. Um, we just really want to be like really strong trees, where they can lean on us, but we're not making it be about us. So that's the
fact.
goal, to be like trees. Is there anything else in this conversation before we wrap it up about intent and impact and consent?
I don't think so, but this is a really short episode.
It is a short episode, but I feel like we've given you all some things to think about. Just start asking yourself, like, what are some ways in your life where you may be, not taking responsibility for the impact of your actions? Where in your life may you have been accidentally uh, robbed people of their consent? Where in your life would you appreciate people to ask you for consent?
And then in that conversation, do you feel strong enough to be able to say something?
Yeah.
So if someone comes to you and just launches into having a difficult conversation and you're not in a space to process it at that moment, are you able to say, "You know what? I'm unable to have this conversation right now.
Yeah.
Can we do it another time?" Because then you get to spread the knowledge of consent to other people.
Yep. I love it. All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you if you're in LA at Aloe Yoga on the 20th. Tickets are available. Go to our website, theamplifycollective.com. If you're not in LA, that's too bad. You really should be. It's the best city in the world. Just kidding. There are plenty of other good cities. But
Not kidding.
you can find us on all the socials at The Amplify Co.
And until next week, everyone go be amplified.